Florida State making some moves here as they fire both of their coordinators, and now they're bringing in Gus Malzahn from UCF, the former UCF head coach and Auburn head coach, is now the offensive coordinator. And Tony White from Nebraska is going to be their new DC. Your thoughts on both of these hires?
I'm not really fully all in on the Gus Malzahn hire, and it's what we just saw with Chip Kelly. Chip Kelly comes in, it's literally the same move. Chip Kelly comes in to Ohio State, and their offense is very productive, and it's super potent, but it felt like Ohio State's offense at times didn't really reach that upper echelon in their biggest matchups. They just didn't. The Michigan game is an example of that. I feel really odd going and pulling a sitting head coach to do this coordinator thing. I'm not for it. I need to see more examples of when it works because, frankly, I don't think that it does. I really don't. It just feels like a really awkward spot to have a guy who was a former head coach join the staff. It is a sport where coaching staffs crumble when there are all these big personalities in a room, and Malzahn is one of them. So I don't know if from a dynamic standpoint, if that's going to work, but he's a brilliant offensive mind. I mean, he has been one of the most productive play callers, orchestrators of offenses in the sport in the last 20 years. So the dividends could be paid. Here's the biggest part, though, Blake. They need to go stupid on whoever they go and get at quarterback. Like the Cromanoke seems fine, but he's not ready to start next year. Brock Glenn's definitely not the guy. They need to bring in like a dude. They need to bring in a dude because Malzahn has not resolved the issues that you had at quarterback with the poor play that you were getting from the guys that you had in the room. So this is something that to assume that Malzahn fixes everything would be a misconception of the situation.
Well, I don't think you can ask. I think it's very wrong to ask him to do that.
Yeah, that's my point.
I mean, you're talking about a 2-10 football team, Joe. I mean, like if they go 6-6 next year, based off of what's happened here, they're not recruiting well in the portal. I mean, in high school recruiting, they're having to go in the portal and get all these guys. They don't have a strong foundation. Listen, here's the truth. It's a full-on rebuild now. I mean, Joe, they're 2-10. Like, I mean, there's no stopgap. I mean, Billy Napier pretty much took their entire class. So, I mean, listen, Joe, I'm not grading. I need to see improvement from them. Improvement. And listen, I get what I actually 1,000% agree with you on the Malzahn thing. But, man, I got to be real with you. Mike kind of maybe does need somebody to help him be there. Somebody that's been in the trenches with him. And listen,
yeah,
I got to be real. Like everybody says the Chip Kelly thing didn't work at Ohio State. Okay, hold on. That can be fair in premise. Ryan Day was having these issues before Chip Kelly got there. Like it wasn't a Chip Kelly thing. I mean,
but that's what I'm saying is it didn't resolve all problems.
Well, it's not on him. It's not on him to resolve every issue. That it's on the head coach to resolve these issues. It's not going to be on Gus. It was never on Chip. Chip is there to call plays. And to be real with you, here's the truth. You didn't recruit well enough, okay, if you're Ohio State, to line up on 3rd and 1 and run the football. It's the same thing here with Florida State. Guys, Florida State fans think I hated them. I don't. We told you in the beginning when you went and got DJU that you're misevaluating dudes. You went and got a plethora of guys from Alabama that, quite honestly, weren't good in the SEC.
Well, none of them contributed at all either.
None of them. And now you're going to have to go back in the portal and do it. Joe, here's the truth. I don't mind Gus from an X's and O's standpoint. Really, I don't. If he doesn't have a quarterback that can move and he doesn't have decent O-line play, you're going to be in trouble. Now, Tony White from Nebraska, Joe, I do like the hire.
I like this.
Physical. And look, man, they've been really tough and physical all year in the Big Ten. Now coming to the ACC, just how quickly can Tony White change some things is going to be the question here.
Yeah, I'm high on this hire because there weren't really many premier athletes on this Nebraska defense. And the thing that we talk about every single week that kept them in football games was the physicality that they were playing with on defense. And just plain and simple, like what we're talking about here is what Florida State, what did them in. They had a bunch of soft dudes that every time you turn on the tape were not giving full effort. A bunch of guys that were not ready to play with a violent presence the minute that the ball was snapped. You know what I would do if I'm evaluating? I'm looking around the country like, who do I want to be my next defensive coordinator? I'm going to pick a team from the Midwest that loves to hit people. That was what made Nebraska so good. They just love to hit people. So I'm for it. I think that this one's going to. I think that this is the best move of the two, and I'm kind of wait to see what happens with Malzahn.
Well, more than anything, you need two coordinators that can come in and change the culture. And can Tony White and Gus Malzahn do that? It's going to be the ultimate question. All right. Joe, the last and final coaching move that we'll talk about, at least here today, and I'm sure there will be others.
BetOnline remains your top spot for all of your live betting action and contests. NFL, college football, UFC, NHL are all in full swing. BetOnline is your number one source for wagering news, odds, trends, and predictions with both desktop and mobile access at any time. Head to BetOnline today and use promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, for 50% off your first deposit. That is a 50% welcome bonus. BetOnline, where the game starts.